Dreamwave Wrestling is the #1 wrestling promotion in the Midwest. Only the best wrestlers come here to compete. And in my mind, I am the best of the best. And nobody is better. The fans of Dreamwave Wrestling, the LaSalle faithful, as the company likes to call them. You know, I don't care about the fans. I don't do this for them. I do it for myself. And I don't want to be your friend on Facebook. I don't want to know you. I'm here in Dreamwave Wrestling to win championships. The Dreamwave Wrestling Alternative Championship. The only original LaSalle wrestling title still in existence. You see, there is a lot of history behind that belt. A lot of good athletes have held it. But finally, after months of being robbed, on February 4th at season premiere, I'm gonna get what I deserve. And that's a one-on-one match against the alternative champion, Mr. 450. And after February 4th, I guarantee that there will be prestige brought back to the alternative championship.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast. On this episode, for the first time, we have all three members of Two Heels and a Face. We have both heels and then yours truly, the face. I say that because the first episode we did, and when we started this podcast, it was myself, Charley, my friend Jim, and also my other friend Matt Reed. Matt Reed has moved on to other things and other interests in his life, and he's pursuing a career in app development and comedic stand-up. And to replace him, we have brought in our lucha consultant, who you've heard on the podcast before, to be a full-time podcaster with us, and he now completes the trio and is the third member, and his name is Cris Romero. So it's Jim, myself, and Cris sitting down with a very special guest, a former indie wrestler. He is Martin Acevedo, also known in the ring as Ace Martino Wrestling Perfection, and he wrestled for, I want to say, a handful of years, maybe 5 or so. Has a lot of good experience and insight to some legends that he's wrestled and just how the business works, and is really smart booking-wise, just a really smart individual overall. So Jim actually works with Martin. They are gym teachers in the Chicagoland area, and Jim and Martin are very good friends. So Martin sat down with us to have a conversation. This was right before WWE Fastlane, and we talked about really just wrestling and what Martin likes and what drew him in. So really good conversation, a lot of good insight, and kind of how the indie scene works, and how he trained and how he was brought up to be a wrestler. So I think you'll enjoy the conversation, and we'll catch you at the end. Bye. Hello everyone, how are we doing today?
Not too bad.
Not too bad?
How's it going?
It's going. We have with us Mr. Ace Martino. Ace, how are you doing?
Hello, sir. I am doing quite well today.
It's very properly spoken of you. Ace, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're in your own introduction, how you want to be introduced, and then tell us what you enjoy about wrestling. What do you like taking from the said buffet table?
Lifelong wrestling fan. My real name is Martin, but as Charley just introduced me, Ace Martino. I tried to be a wrestler for a little while, and then I got married and had to grow up. So, $20 paydays and hot dogs wrapped in bacon from Galley Lucha Libre are not going to pay the bills, people. So now I have a real job. I have real money. I have real love. I have a real life, and
that's great.
A little girl to take care of. But I'm going to give everybody my perspective today of what I like about wrestling.
What is that? Just in general, growing up, what got you into it first, and then what kind of made you say like it enough to try to want to do it? What are those aspects, those things?
Well, Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
It's definitely as a kid. I'm older than you guys. I know I probably shouldn't say that because I got to work my gimmick as still being young. But Hulk Hogan, just larger than life characters, big personalities.
Yep.
You know, the physicalness, the combat, and then as in high school, I said I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a wrestler. But you know, I had to get an education first, so I graduated, got a job, and luckily, I just Googled and. In New Lenox, there was a wrestling school, and I got trained, and a year later, I was in the ring.
Are you originally from New Lenox?
No, I grew up in Bradley, Bourbonnais.
Okay.
So when I got a job in Frankfort, which is near New Lenox, southwest suburbs of Chicago, for people out there in podcast world who do not know the Illinois area.
Mm-hmm.
So I got trained there. I tried to be a wrestler at different places. He started with Elite Pro. Those are the guys who trained me. Worked CSW. I worked a lot of Dreamwave for a while. That was like my home promotion out in LaSalle. They were very good.
R.I.P. They're no longer.
Yeah.
They went under. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He just quit running shows. Now,
did he? Okay.
Now AAW, the best local, or not local.
Kind of local.
Well, Chicago-based promotion, in my opinion, and I'm sure we'll talk about more about that.
Mm-hmm.
But now they, have a stranglehold in LaSalle because there is a lot of great wrestling fans in LaSalle, a lot of action still going on. But back to me, that promotion was very good to me.
Yeah.
They gave me a belt. They thought I was good enough to wear one of their belts.
That's cool.
I worked with Alternative Championship. That was like their version of the IC belt.
Workhorse title.
Like when the Heritage Championship at 8.
Yeah, you would compare it to that. But I got stink faced by Rikishi. I got thrown out of the ring by Scott Steiner. Hacksaw Jim Duggan told me, "Slow down, kid." Just stuff like that. That's the whole reason I wanted to be in wrestling. It's just stuff like that. But then it got to a point where, what else am I gonna do with this? As my trainers would tell me, like, "What are you gonna do? Why are you doing this? $20, like I said at the beginning, $20 paydays. I'm gonna make it anywhere." Mm-hmm. Like these. That's what I don't think people understand, and that's why I'm glad I'm talking today, because, like I told you guys before the show,
they get to shed the light.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. People don't realize how much sacrifice these guys have to make to entertain us. So
when you said that you got trained and then a year later you were in the ring, is that because training takes a year, or it took you a year to get trained and then build a name to get into a ring?
Our school, the Elite Pro Dojo, which is no longer in existence, Vito and Sal Tomaselli, the Iron Saints of IWA Mid-South fame, were my trainers, and they trained out of the dojo in California that was like a New Japan dojo. Oh. And that was like their thing. Mm-hmm. You had to pay your dues. You set up the ring, you trained for, no matter what, you trained for a year, unless you were huge, 6'7". I'm sure they would have thrown you in a match, but
yeah.
It wasn't that I sucked or I'm unathletic, Jim. Is that what you're trying to say?
No.
I'm Ace I still always will be Ace Martino wrestling perfection.
I'm saying this. I guess from, like you said, you Googled it, and then a year later you were in the ring. From, like, an average person's perspective, there's me, who has thought the same thought at a time, like, dude, I wonder if I could do it. And then you think to yourself, like, I can't do it, but maybe I could. I'm sure that has come across many people's minds. So that's why I'm saying, like, you trained for a year. Was it like, are we talking like your training sessions? Like, tell me about the training process, because as a person, you just think someone could teach you that. They know how to fall. They learn that stuff. That's easy. Like, what is training? Like, I know if you watch like any of the NXT stuff or Tough Enough or any of that jazz. Yeah, any of that stuff where they show you inside the Performance Center. Obviously, that's WWE prepping them the WWE way. I kind of want to know, like, where
do you start from training?
What's 101?
Yeah. Learning the rolls, and then learning how to take the bumps, like a flat back bump, the Beal bump, just different bumps like that you would have to take. Running the ropes, all the stuff that we see that like Finn Balor and all those guys do with no problem, but. I played football. You go in there and try to do it. That's why even like a lot of these NFL guys that go in there, they think they can do it, but it's hard. And taking forearms.
What was the hardest part for you? Like going in, like, I don't know,
Just
first
flip
quarter. Like what is that? Like you're trying to do what and you can't, or
probably that flip bump because I hate heights and I hate flipping and just flipping over. That was sucked because I almost back body drops are really scary. AJ Styles makes it look great, but it sucks.
Yeah. Were you doing? Would you have to do backflips on trampolines to get used to that, or do you just kind of let them take you and you?
Well, no. We didn't have any trampolines.
Or
like I know,
foam pits or something. Like
no foam pits, but
like I imagine this like some warehouse and a ring and that's it.
that was pretty much what it was, like a storage unit. Literally, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Dirty, stinky storage unit with a ring in it, and it wasn't even like a real wrestling. It was like it felt like cement. When we were bumping on it, or a ring, because it was meant to be a boxing ring that they turned into a wrestling ring. So we never wanted to practice on it too much, but we had to.
I have a wrestling goal of just running the ropes like successfully once.
Yeah.
That's like my 5-year goal. But I have to first somehow find a ring I can.
Well, even like day one, I go in there, you touch the ring and you touch the rope. So it's cool. We're fans, and we want to try to do it. So
yeah. Tell me about $20 paydays. So is that just some I don't know like opening show match stuff, or were you making paydays like that even when you were like higher up the card, or give me a sense of the pay structure of like a Dreamwave show, like the Dreamwave's biggest.
The most I made was $30, and I only asked for more money after like 2 years of 2 or 3 years being there after they gave me the belt and stuff, and it's like, well, we'll give you $30. Like, well, I guess that's enough to pay for my gas, but it's not paying for my gear,
right?
Boots, and to look for like a professional wrestler, and then gym membership and protein powder and all that other stuff that go. And tanning is very important, and shaving your legs and stuff. But seriously, yeah, it's.
So what were guys making that would come in that were popular? Or do you know? Or would they?
I really don't. I can just like guesstimate from like bring in name guys like.
Right.
They're paying for their flight and their hotel and their food. So
like when they would bring in Rikishi.
Right, yeah.
They're going to pay him. Is Rikishi coming to Chicago to make like $1,000? Are they giving him $1,000?
No, he's probably getting like $500-$600. I'm only like guessing. I don't know exactly the books on that, but I bet we could try to book him for a birthday party or something. He would give us a rate. Those dudes are always looking for a working a free meal.
Stink face my mom and my birthday.
No, you don't want to take a stink face.
No. What did that feel like?
Well, I try to like back up a little bit, but that's probably what made it worse as my head went back into the
right, because you have to go sideways, right?
Yeah,
if you go up, then you're fucked.
Yeah, I was gonna, I don't want to eat his ass, so.
So, all right. So you train, you get built up. You kind of have a better insight of what goes on actually during a match. With that being said, how did your viewpoint on wrestling before you started wrestling and after you started wrestling change? What was the biggest thing? Like when you're a fan watching at home, then you did it, now you watch it. What changed the most?
Well, now I'm watching to study. Why is he doing that? Like, why are they doing things for a reason? There's no wasted movement in the ring.
Well, that's what you want to assume, right? There's certain matches that, obviously no knowledge or no background into it, but like you sometimes question like that just does not make sense. Like that's what you assume. You think that every move, it's well thought out or whatever they're doing in the ring. But yeah, like some stuff just like it makes you wonder like why.
Yeah, like what was the reason for that?
Right.
Yeah, and he could probably shed more light on that. Like what? Yeah, I'll let you talk on this.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Before you start on it, because that's like the main question I wanted to ask you, because you have put on an actual match for fans, and the thing that interests me the most is kind of what you're asking. But can you take me through just like the choreography of a match and how like what you talk about like before you both go out there, and then like I kind of picture it as maybe like you talk about like 3 or 4 big spots, and then the rest of it is filler. Like, that's how a match is structured. But can you tell me how a match is structured or how you used to do it? Or
all guys are different. Some guys it's like choreographed from the beginning get-go. Lock up. We're going to do this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. That was just way too confusing to me.
Right.
Because typically, like, the booker would tell you, okay, here's your finish. and then you guys maybe will hit this spot because everybody kind of has their own certain moves that they do.
Exactly.
And I was always like just to walk and talk as far as, actually wrestle in the ring because that's what's kind of missing. And I think too nowadays with TV and how athletic guys are and doing things that it probably does need to be choreographed more to know, like, I'm going to dive here, so you need to make sure you catch me and I don't die or anything. So, but, like, back in the day, like, when I would talk to these guys, like, when Paul Orndorff or Terry Funk would come, like, what did you guys do? We would just go out there and wrestle. And nobody really does that anymore, like, walk and talk style.
That's the advice they would give?
Yeah, I would ask them, like, if should I be doing choreography? Like, no, just go work. And that's what's kind of lost. And that's kind of one of the reasons I stopped wrestling is because everyone out there now is trying to make it, and there's no guys out there to really teach anybody the business and how to work matches. So everybody's different. So like you were saying, everything's A to B. And I've always heard like Macho Man was very particular about his matches. Like the famous match with Steamboat. Everything was planned up. Like every single move. Or some guys just go out there and just wrestle.
So if you were working with a guy who wanted to do more planning, then the show went out at 7, so you would plan, like you would probably have to reach out to him and be there at like 3 to go over stuff beforehand, right? It was kind of like that. So you'd have to spend time in the ring beforehand with that guy.
Sometimes it all depends. Like I worked a lot locally here, so a lot of these guys I knew, or I wrestled a lot, so we just talk about things real quick. Or I'm very easygoing, so whatever guy wanted to do, as long as I wasn't going to die in the match, I was pretty. As long as it would make sense, as far as ring psychology of, because all of a sudden if I'm getting beat down as the baby face, I just wouldn't pop right up and hit a move.
Yeah,
right. That's cool.
So, what was the finisher of Ace Martino Wrestling Perfection?
Koji clutch.
Oh, that's
like the submission move.
Right?
Sami Zayn has done it.
Oh, yes.
CM Punk.
Did you do a brainbuster into it, or didn't you do something into
the flatliner?
The flatliner
into it.
Nice.
Mustafa Ali gave me that
really?
finisher at Dreamwave. Yeah. Or the Koji clutch.
Oh, okay.
He saw it and he's like, hey, do this. I was like, all right, I'll do it.
And then it just caught on.
Yeah, that's just what I stuck with.
Nice. That's cool. So, I have a question, if no one else has one. So I'm gonna talk candidly here, like I always do. My first impression of you was a very soft-spoken individual, for the most part, and someone who thinks before they say. That's the impression that I get from you. And I think that I've told Jim that, and Jim's like, yeah, that's pretty much true on the point. So someone who's a leader, but your gimmick in the ring is not like that, at least from what I've seen. You're very loudmouthy and very, because you were a heel, correct?
Yes.
So talk to me about how you created that, how you created Ace Martino Wrestling Perfection, and then also how you flipped that switch.
That like everybody, like Stone Cold, this was me with the
Valium.
Valium turned up to 11. Yeah. I think even Cena said it the other day or whatever.
Yeah, he said it to Miz.
Yeah.
That's me. Like,
okay.
I am soft spoken, but I do have a confidence about myself.
Right.
That,
I would agree.
That I can get shit done, whether it's at work or with family, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Wrestling Perfection, Ace Martino. That's what I was, or I still am in a way, but I'm not gonna go cutting promos on people.
so
I'll cut. No, never mind. I don't want to say that on the air. Someone might get back.
No, not that it gets back, but essentially due to the fact that I work with the gentleman without specifying details as to what we do or where we work, I can vouch for that. There'll be times when you can tell. It was tough because we missed him because he was on his maternity or paternity leave for a long time there. But last year when we were working the whole year together, he would be cutting promos and...
Well, how many wrestling references did I get the other day?
The other day, it's a great story. I noticed that this sidetracks from the main question.
No,
but at work, where he's, doing his thing, and he makes a wrestling reference. And he looks over at me, smiles, and I laughed because it was a good one. And then he throws, 2 sentences in, then he makes another one. And none of the kids are picking up on anything of what's going down. So I'm starting to count. So he goes again and again, and he's going, and he's doing it, and he's throwing references in. And I walk up to him at the end, I'm like, yo, I counted, you did 24 references within 13-minute span, and he's not lying. Like, that is his personality, and even when we're at work, because he's like my mentor there too, he's like, it's all show. Like, when they come in, if you want to be good at our job, you have to keep them engaged and entertained so that they're following and doing what you need them to do, and you're making it fun. And so he will always be like, you got to work the show. Like, you got to make it good. It's a show. It's always a show.
Well, life's a work. That's anybody, no matter what type of job you do, you got to show up. You got to put the suit or whatever you're doing. Manual labor, teaching, mailman.
Yeah.
You go up, you show up, you be professional. And then when you go home, it's
the show.
You do your own thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. So were you just dropping catchphrases within? So you were giving a lecture and you just
catchphrases and
a couple name drops.
Nice.
It'd be a lot of stuff like, "Don't give up." Like, don't give up, don't ever give up. Or, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Or just, I am the best in the world at what I do. It constantly goes, and he quotes Miz a lot, actually. And
very quotable individual.
Yeah. We got a couple of kids. There's a couple of kids that know what's going on. In one of my classes, there's one kid who on Friday showed up with an Austin 316 shirt, and I was like, that's amazing. That kid picks up on everything he puts down.
Right.
Yeah, like, that kid's gonna figure it out and know what he's saying.
Yeah. That's funny because does the little kid go back and watch some of Austin's stuff or not?
I don't know.
Does he have the network?
I don't know, but they talk about what they watch now, and so then, like, we'll always voice our opinion about things, and since we like it for different reasons, they'll always, what? AJ Styles? Are you kidding me? Are you stupid? You like AJ Styles? Like, they're all marks.
Yeah, it's always funny just because, our jobs that we do.
Yeah.
That you get the wrestling buffet. You can get a 9-year-old kid's perspective of
That's the truth. That's the truth,
Exactly.
though. Like, it's the honest to God truth.
But that's what WWE's marketing for is kids. Back in the day, it was Attitude Era, 18 or whatever.
Yep.
Do you think... Go ahead, Christian. I was going to say, the original question, after you asked, we got sidetracked with the storytelling during work thing, but your original question was about the construction of a match and then, like, calling out spots and being very specific.
Very intriguing to me how these muscular, athletic guys can just make some things look so smooth out there. I mean, I guess the athleticism makes sense, but I guess it's more the choreography and timing and what to do next and when to know when to do it is really interesting.
How much talking is going on that people don't really understand?
That you don't see?
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot. So they're communicating constantly?
Constantly. Well, if you watch Botchamania, they'll
Yeah.
not those HD mics, but when you're going to AEW, most of the time you're not going to hear, if they're good and solid in the ring, you're not going to hear them. So anytime that they're near each other, you're going to talk and
there's something to be said.
You duck, reverse, do this, do
How
that.
do you think it works when a guy? This is always what I like to do.
Yeah.
When a guy like Sami Callihan has to wrestle Pentagon Jr., who only speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
How is that happening?
I've never was never lucky to wrestle, a level of Pentagon or Japanese wrestling or anything. So
Yeah, like
honestly, I wonder the same thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've never made it to that level, but I just got to think that those guys they're in the ring together. That
it's like a chemistry thing.
It just happens naturally, and they're just the way that they know to talk to each other and just the movements.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most
that are gonna come.
Yeah, that's the most intriguing thing to me is the chemistry.
Yeah.
Also, what's intriguing is the fact that a lot of these people are probably very egotistical. Like you said, everyone's kind of trying to make it, but they still can lie down and take a loss. That's what's really intriguing to me. Just like how a lot of it is about yourself and trying to make it, and so like everyone kind of needs to have an ego, right?
Mm.
To like be like, I'm sure all the top guys have an ego. We know Hogan had an ego, right? But like I'm sure like if you interviewed Kevin Owens, he's like, yeah, you gotta be overconfident in yourself, but then they can still go out there and lose in front of a bunch of people. I think just that aspect is really interesting too.
But sometimes losing helps. Losing can bolster your, like Sami Zayn, like when you lose,
Yeah.
knowing that in the future there's going to be a
story.
payoff, it helps build your character. I don't. You understand more ring and storyline psychology than I ever could, because I'll come to work with an idea and you'll be like, I can see that working, and then you tell me like, but it'd be this, this, and this, and I'm always like, damn, how the hell does he know?
We'll go back to your Sami Zayn example, and Daniel Bryan was the same character. Bailey's the same underdog character.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch, I feel like is a lovable loser too.
You can only lose so much. There has to be a payoff, and even going back to Daniel Bryan, the only reason they end up giving him the belt, all the thing with Batista and whatever else. So,
I mean, because you have his name just Wyatt. Like, it took him
Bray.
forever to get the title.
Yeah, he lost
He lost for what, a year and a half?
More
Maybe even more. Yeah.
that's why Jim was like, "Oh, Wyatt's got the belt." I'm like, "Well, 2 years too late. Like, he should have beat Cena. He should have beat Undertaker."
Right.
Yeah, like,
At least in my personal opinion as a fan, that's what I.
Right. So touching on that, right? So how do you talking about we enjoy wrestling in different ways? Like, what's your take on it? Like, as a fan now, do you watch the product? How often do you watch it? Like, what's your intake on it? Like, we, go to AEW and local shows. What about, like I haven't seen you there, so, like, how does that feel, like, coming back?
Yeah, I don't really want to go to.
Right.
I've been to one AEW show only because Pentagon was there, and I'm a huge Pentagon mark.
Same.
So that's the only reason I went to that show. But just the indie shows, really, it's just too much for me personally. Just to go there and be like, oh, I had to grow up, and my wife's not gonna hear this podcast, is she, Charlie?
that depends.
That depends.
If you promote it to it, yeah. I'm sure. Does going to an AEW show kind of like hurt you in a way where you're like,
no, not really. I always joke with her all the time
Right.
because when people ask me, how come you don't wrestle anymore? I go, well, my wife told me I had to grow up. That's just like a joke. But seriously, no, it's too late for me. But AEW, that's the only promotion I would go to because it's solid wrestling.
Yeah.
Some of these other promotion, there's a lot of good guys there, but I couldn't sit through a whole show because it's a lot of garbage.
It's bad. I went to one. I went to like.
And these guys are still trying to learn, and no one's there to teach them. And
Yeah, like I went to whatchamacallit, the one that Billy Corgan was running for a while. Resistance, and it was like you said, like aside from your boy Jay.
Yeah, that's the only reason I went to a Resistance show to see him. I went to
a Resistance show and didn't know you at the time and didn't know Jake at the time, and told Jake after the show that his match was amazing. Aside from Jake, I was like, man, I could have not have paid to see that and been okay. Like, what? That was a waste of my money.
Is that still active or no?
No, that went under.
Resistance?
Right?
It is. It's active.
Oh, it's
the
active?
brothers still run it.
Corgan's out?
Yeah, Corgan's
Is that
out.
local?
Yes. They run in Summit.
They were going to be on a
Summit,
TV show.
Run at Summit.
They were making an AMC reality TV show about indie wrestling promotion, and that's the one they picked. So they had cameras with them all the time, right?
Because of Corgan.
Well, because it was all Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
So they would follow Corgan. They would pick out guys. Egotistical was one of them.
Nice.
And
Wait, is that Ethan Page?
Yeah,
or
no.
No, Robert Anthony.
Robert Anthony,
Oh, okay.
Ego.
One of the other dudes, and then my buddy Jake O'Neill was trying to get, was working out with him too, so they would film him. But yeah, and then back to your question, Christian. Raw and SmackDown is pretty much. There's too much to watch. Like, I don't even really watch NXT anymore.
Yeah,
205 Live, I'll watch every once in a while. That's pretty much Talking Smack.
It is a lot.
I almost enjoy Talking Smack more than I'll get more than Raw sometimes. I'm like, oh man, because I don't know. Sometimes I like the drama. I love the in-ring stuff, but Talking Smack is so darn good.
Well, let's segue into what we wanted to talk about. Just why I mean, personally, I think SmackDown is just, since the brand split, it's just destroyed Raw in terms of just quality of the show. So do you want to go into that and give those reasons?
And I have a theory, and I'm probably right and wrong. Remember when you were like, that's who they're marketing to, 9-year-olds? Are they actively keeping Raw marketed towards the children and not knowing because of all of the good press NXT got and all these indie things and how awesome the Cruiserweight Classic did they change SmackDown to be more of the hardcore fan show and Raw is the kids show? Because when I ask the kids at work, they say Raw's better. And then when I ask an adult, they all say, oh, SmackDown's better. Right. Yeah. So are they marketing to two demographics based on the show?
Maybe. They got so many different shows. But even now, the Cruiserweight Classic, that was like on the network, it was like a wrestling thing. Now it's basically, they're doing WWE style, but all the guys are smaller. That's the only... ropes are purple.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
Right.
much the same thing to me.
Right. It's kind of got that Raw taint on it now, whereas like Cruiserweight Classic made it stand on its own.
The Cruiserweight Classic
That's way
had the
they did it.
wrestling taint, and
Mhm.
now the Cruiserweight division has the Raw taint, or the WWE taint,
Yeah, it's like they got that stench on it.
which
Of
isn't
this.
always a bad stench, but it's a specific stench.
Yeah. Do you want to give reasons, Chris, why SmackDown is just phenomenal
First
right
of all, like everybody talks about 3 hours versus 2 hours, right? And that alone, like, cause I'll have Raw, I'll watch Raw, but I'm not sitting down watching Raw. Like I'm working and I have the TV in the background, and like I'll pay attention to a match or two and just kind of follow the storyline. SmackDown is easier to like. All right, you could sit down for 2 hours if anything and watch it and get engaged. And then you're talking about talking smack. It's not wrestling. It's the drama. It's the storyline. It's furthering the storyline, or introducing new curves into it or whatnot. So you're able to like enjoy that as well. 205, I can't get into it. Like I am, my original intro to wrestling was the lucha libre style. High flying. Like some of these guys, I know Grand Metalik took forever to him to get him into the show. Finally, he's back in.
Yeah.
But I just like the cruiserweight. I enjoy that the cruiserweight
Wrestling
tournament.
yeah.
Like I enjoyed it because it was unique. It was on its own. It stood on its own. But now like when it gets like a few matches in the middle of Raw and then the show after SmackDown, I don't know. It's something that loses the flow of what that standalone show should be or could be. And I just can't enjoy it as much. I don't know. What are your thoughts on 205? Being in the middle of Raw and then right after SmackDown.
I feel. Go ahead, Charlie.
I was just gonna jump on kind of piggyback on Ace's point where it was their own unique thing, and they did unique things, just like even little things like shaking hands before and then raising the person's
It felt
hand
like a
after the
real
match.
competition.
Yeah,
Like a real fight.
But even that's correct. Then that's what made it its own entity. But even if it wasn't that, if it was something else that made it its own entity, like that would have been great. But like you said, it feels like it's been like raw-ized or something like that, or like now it just feels like a Raw. They're doing all the same gimmicky shit, and the matches end the same way, and like the build-up is the same way, and they do like contract signings, like that's all what Raw does, and I feel like it lost its true identity.
It was like Martino always likes to say, like the super indies. It was when you go to an independent show, they usually they're bringing in talent, and maybe they can formulate some sort of storyline that flows with it. But the people are there to see two extreme talents wrestle. They don't care about the storyline. It's just a wrestling match. And at the time when the Cruiserweight division, or the Cruiserweight Classic was on, it was like, dang, wrestlers versus wrestlers. This is awesome. Now that it's part of the show, they gotta add story to it. They gotta try to develop these guys, which isn't bad, but it would almost be cool if they treated it like the Cruiserweight division was like an lightweight MMA division where they're all struggling to be the best, but everything is predicated on wrestling. Who's the best in ring? I don't know. I can't solve that problem, man. You could solve that problem. You'd be working for the company. I don't know. It lost its coolness.
Would 205 be better, or can it happen? And I'll ask you, Martin, if it was just a pure wrestling show on Thursday nights, no storylines. Like, do you think that will catch on, or then it's just another program?
It would just I would think they would just put that on the network. They wouldn't be
right
on USA or whatever as far as Raw and SmackDown.
Like
it would need to be its own show, like with the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like, people have debated online about, well, it's because it's taped after or before. They've tried it both, and it really doesn't matter.
They have done it before?
Yes. The one time where, I forgot why, they were, maybe because preempted or something, but it doesn't matter. People don't know the people. And when you only give a guy 3 minutes to go out there and do a match.
His point was you said the people don't know the people, because the majority of the people spending their money to go to those shows are the children and the families and the parents. A majority of people who watch the Cruiserweight Classic were us. And so and NXT, the majority of people who are spending their money to go to those NXT Full Sail shows are us. So the environment changes drastically. And when the environment changes, the the construct of the show changes. If there's no fan engagement or appreciation of what's going on, then it loses that energy. And that loss of energy, I think, really harms the division. Like you said, they don't know the people. They don't know what's going on. So what do? They got to give them storylines. They got to make a comedy act out of Jack Gallagher, which isn't bad. But they got to do all these things to build relation to the people so that people care. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, we don't care. We could see a wrestling match, but the average person isn't us.
They're putting them in the wrong environment. Is that what you're trying to say? Not putting them around the wrong crowd?
That's one of the factors, I think. So, and then even Triple H has said in his conference call, it's just a work in progress.
Yeah, like it's a development.
Yeah, it's just a work. They're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. It all comes down to Vince McMahon, whatever he wants.
Yeah. I know, and that's a shame. Someone asked me, I think recently, I think it was today actually. Someone asked, "Do you think Vince is ever gonna, or when's Vince gonna give up the reins?" Like, they asked me like a timeline. I was like, probably until he's like pronounced that he has like 5 years to live. Like, I don't think he'll ever give up the reins unless he's like his health is in jeopardy. I don't know.
Who writes SmackDown? Who's the head writer for SmackDown?
Oh yeah, who is
Road Dogg?
Road Dogg. It's Road Dogg and the dude that was doing NXT from what I read online. Yes. They're like the main guys on SmackDown. Yeah. So that's another factor. It's a different writing team, but Christian's 2 hours is the way to go, I think. Mm-hmm. But they make so much money in advertising.
Right, like that deal's not gonna go away.
No, so fans are just gonna keep bitching about it. And it's not gonna change. So.
No, it won't, because you won't stop watching. You're like, the people are still gonna go to the show.
You're gonna watch
and you're
anyway.
Not gonna watch, and you're gonna watch.
Right, I was
anyway.
just complaining about Raw, and I was just telling you a few minutes ago. I'm like, I think I just might go down to the Allstate, tomorrow
and see if I can get a ticket tomorrow.
Right.
Oh. I think when there's a lot of reasons that I think SmackDown is killing Raw right now, but I think that a huge factor, and maybe it was writing, or maybe it is the 2 hour show, but someone, this is not my own idea, this is someone else's idea, but someone said that when the brand split happened, obviously, we thought, looking on paper, Raw had the better roster, but SmackDown, whether it was the way they used them, the writing, or the fact that it's 2 hours, I felt like they created so much depth. Like, they almost made their on paper roster, who wasn't as great as Raw's, better. They enhanced all these people, and if you put up a list of people who have benefited from, and there's people on both sides that have not benefited from the brand split, but if you put up a list of people who have benefited from it, I guarantee there'd be more SmackDown people on that list.
When Elimination Chamber happened, I was texting back and forth with my buddy, and I was like, no joke, any 6 of these guys could win the belt, and that's how the Attitude Era felt like. Mm-hmm. Like, you knew that, maybe not because I was a kid, I don't want to speak on it, but it was like, okay, Austin could be the champion, Angle could be the champion, Rock could be the champion, Mankind could be the champion, Triple H could be the champion, Undertaker could be the champion, Kane could be the champion. All of these people were legitimate threats to always be the champion. And that Elimination Chamber match on SmackDown, literally you could have made a case that every one of those people could have won that match, and for some reason or another, it could have worked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they have 6 prime players, like Dean Ambrose, like Dean Ambrose, Miz, Cena, Styles, Baron Corbin. They've built up to the moon, and then it feels like, I'd be okay if any of these people won. Whereas Raw, it's like, Owens wrestles Reigns, Owens wrestles Goldberg, Owens wrestles somebody else, and it's like it's take your turn. Okay, you had your turn, now it's my turn, and now it's my turn, instead of like this constant we all want it kind of feeling.
Yeah.
The Raw's we all want it feeling isn't there. Am I wrong?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think to your point, I think that's a really good point, and an example of that would be like the SmackDown show that we went to the last time they were at Allstate, where they did the triple threat, Styles, Ziggler, and Corbin. Like, to me, my mark side during that match felt like Corbin looked really good in that match. Like, they made Ziggler and Styles made Corbin look really good and, elevated him to... Because throughout, they only did 3 matches that night, so throughout, the first 7 minutes of that triple threat match, it was Corbin just beating the shit out of those 2 guys. Yeah. So, they do stuff like that, and then all of a sudden that elevates Corbin into, a person who could potentially, take the Intercontinental title and then be a champ in like a year. In my like Mark mind, I guess you could say. Like if I'm watching it and like buying into these.
Or how about the
characters.
fact that Dean Ambrose has their Intercontinental belt and Dean Ambrose was the champion a month ago? You know, like that.
And it doesn't feel like he really lost anything, I guess, to me.
No.
I feel like he's still like doing doing his thing. Whether you're like,
I go either way of him. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, he's better when he's chasing a title, probably.
He's got.
But yeah, like Heath Slater, I believe Heath Slater was a tag team champion. I would have never believed Heath Slater was anything before the brand split. So that's just an example of how they took a guy from the bottom and just made him a legitimate contender in at least my mind, in people's minds. That's just my point. Like they created depth and then made their whole roster better.
And so we sit here and we criticize the shows. You try and tell me Vince had nothing to do with that? Or does he?
I don't know. I don't know Vince.
Yeah.
I wish I did.
I know we don't know Vince, but like, I wonder how much of the show is really written or differently because he claims to not have, you know, he's not the head writer, whereas he writes a lot of Raw things.
Well, he's not the head writer either show from my inside sources.
He's the I approver.
Yeah, he's the end all be all as far as if I'll let it go or not.
I thought he was like still to this day like being like, all right, well, we're gonna do this with so and so on Raw, and they write around it.
So we talked about WWE, and you mentioned, Martine, that you watch WWE Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, but you had also mentioned that you were a Pentagon mark. Like, do you watch Underground?
I did. Not anymore. It just got to be too much for me.
It was too
as
much.
far as
1 hour show was too much for you.
Well, just the fact that it was another wrestling show I wanted to watch, and we don't get it around here, so I don't have to go out of my way to find it. Mm-hmm. And then I just got lost in the storylines that they were doing. It's too over the top sometimes.
Yeah.
But that season where they were pushing Pentagon and he's breaking arms and the Vampiro thing, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was season
that
1,
first
right?
season, yeah. After season 2, I kind of got into, but then at midway season 2, I just stopped watching.
Yeah, it's definitely a show that needs an off season, like it has, because you can become desensitized to all of the fiction and like the high flying. Yeah. It's a lot of craziness in 1 hour, so you need to. Like, I wouldn't recommend binge watching that. I would recommend like taking a week break, even if you have access to like a whole season.
Right,
it's just so
coming
much.
soon to Netflix.
Yeah,
that's cool. They're putting it on Netflix. That is really cool.
Season 1 and 2, I think, and then like season 3 is iTunes.
Season 3 is iTunes.
Yeah. So.
And I heard they'll start taping the next half of season 3 on December.
Oh, okay. So, they're splitting it up, right? In halves of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But when it first came out, I was really high on it. You know, I was always watching. I tell Jim about it. And I got hooked on Pentagon, and they got a big market or not a good big money backing with El Rey and all that. So they've done some shows, I think, like that were bought by some cell phone company, but I'm really not sure on that. But I just think that they lost me. You know, if they were easier to access, I think I would watch it.
For sure.
I think that's a big.
Right. If we all had pop, we could be watching TNA, guys.
Man,
excuse you, Impact.
Impact. I'm sorry.
Excuse you. Who is in? And I'm going to take a second to plug our bracket, but we're doing a parody bracket because it's March. It's March Madness. So it's called the buffet bracket, and our gimmick here at Two Heels on the Face is everyone enjoys different things, and we embrace that. So you vote for the promotion or the type of show that you enjoy watching more. So. If you're listening, please look out for those posts on Twitter that I have to do today during Fastlane and kind of throughout the week. I would like to start it today because I'm going to start hashtagging WWE Fastlane and then see a lot of people hopefully pick up some traction on that.
That's a smart move.
Yeah. Hey,
that's your end right there.
And trying to be a content marketer, so that's the plan. But yes, please vote on Twitter for your favorite promotion. It's going to be going throughout the whole month of March. Everything's in there from every type of WWE show and then a bunch of indie stuff too, like a bunch of stuff in Japan. So this is your chance to show that there is more favorable options out there other than WWE, which is great. That's like the greatest time. This is the greatest time to be a wrestling fan, at least in my opinion, besides the Attitude Era where it was amazing. Just growing up, I have that nostalgic factor, but other than that.
But before we get into that, I want to take a second to mention our loyal sponsor, Boda Box Boxed Wine. Nothing goes better with endless binge watching of wrestling than an endless supply of boxed wine. Think about this deal. With a Boda Box purchase,
you are getting 4 bottles of wine for only $15. That's a great deal. Pair it with a copious amount of wrestling on the WWE Network for only $9.99 a month, and you won't ever have to leave the house. You can binge in your apartment with one of the 13 flavors that BotoBox offers. Share it with your friends, or basically ration it out, which is what my girlfriend does, and come home and have a glass a day. However you do it, make sure you do it while watching the glorious drama and action of professional wrestling. BotoBox. It makes sure you ain't Bota.
Thank you for listening to that brief ad. And now we're going to jump into the second part of our conversation. We talked really briefly about Fastlane and our predictions. Now, I know what you're thinking. Fastlane was about 2 weeks ago, maybe more by the time you hear this. But I think it's fun just to see how many we got right or wrong. And then we also talk about some more interesting booking and the way that Roman Reigns is being used right now. So the Fastlane predictions are not a very large portion of this next part of our conversation. So stick through that and you'll get to some good stuff at the end and kind of finish off the conversation with Martin Acevedo, Ace Martino, Wrestling Perfection. Really quick, before we get into that, you can find us on SoundCloud, 2 Heels and a Face, at 2 Heels and a Face on Twitter, and we're also on iTunes as well. So thank you for all your support. Follow us, leave a review if you want, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll catch you at the end of this podcast. Thanks.
All right, we're getting close to the start of Fastlane, and I know this will probably come out post Fastlane to the viewers or to the listeners. So just because we talked, just for our fun sake, just because we talked about how we kind of complain about Raw's writing, and I feel like it is getting so predictable or things are becoming easy to tell, whereas SmackDown, we said there's a variant to it where you feel like things could happen that you maybe do not see coming. I want to try to go over the card and see if we all agree on who's going to win. And if we have a quick argument, you can state your case for why, but I want to see if we all are on the same page since we all watch every week.
Sure.
All right, so Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks. Is there anyone who thinks Sasha wins this match?
No.
I think this one is actually really hard to predict. I'm gonna go Jax, but just because I'm gonna say but they do 50 booking in some cases, and Sasha's been losing a lot. So I don't know. I think there's a slighter chance. Yeah. I'm gonna say Jax.
All right, and then Rich Swann and Akira Tozawa versus
Kendrick and Dar.
Yeah, Kendrick and Dar, and that's totally Swann and Tozawa.
I say faces.
Yeah, faces for sure.
I agree.
Zayn and Joe, that we don't even need to. No one even talk. That's Joe. Right?
Samoa Joe.
Joe wins. Yeah. That's your workhorse match.
Yeah.
Ideal. They've been booking Joe awesome, I think, but they can't squash Sami Zayn and Rollins hurt. They're gonna go 20 minutes. It's gonna be a great match. Okay. No doubt about it. But Joe wins.
Yeah. I agree. Joe wins. Club versus Enzo and Cass. Club.
Enzo and Cass win at Mania.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. Reigns and Strowman. This is the only one where you can say. I say they should let Braun Strowman should win this match, but Roman Reigns will win.
What about DQ or a Undertaker thing?
All right. With the exception of, let's say it stays clean, no DQs, no outside anything.
Who wins it?
Yeah, if they were to book a winner between Roman Reigns and Strowman.
Strowman.
That's the first one I disagree with. I think Strowman in the writing should win this match, but would it surprise me at all if Roman Reigns wins this match before he faces Undertaker at WrestleMania? How's he going to lose to Strowman and then say he can beat the Undertaker? Roman's winning.
That's a good point.
Yeah, he can't lose to Strowman and then.
But I think Strowman's hit that untouchable level almost more.
There's a high percentage chance that something tomfoolery goes on.
First off, I just want to say, and this is not like a Fastlane prediction, but I've been noticing how they've been using Reigns. It's almost like they know he's a heat magnet, they know he's a heat magnet, but they're admitting to it, and they're using him to help other people get over. He was the last guy Randy Orton eliminated. Did he have to be? He didn't have to be, right? He's the last guy Randy Orton eliminated. So the Survivor Series match, he was the guy who was pinned by Bray, and that gave Bray a ton of momentum, which has now paid off. And then there was one other thing that I can't remember. I feel like they're using Reigns as that although he's their golden boy, like
He's giving the rub to these other guys because you got the big
Yeah,
pop
that's
because from Orton winning the Rumble, and then we said the Wyatts winning the Survivor Series. They were able to get that bigger pop because everybody hates Roman Reigns.
Exactly. So they're popping.
Anybody but Reigns.
They're popping the IWC of the hardcore fans. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say here. But I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's
if
good.
you
I would
notice
agree with that.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, continue. So.
Then Neville versus Gallagher. Neville
has to keep it, right?
He's got to keep it till WrestleMania. Has to.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bailey versus Charlotte, and this is the easiest
Charlotte.
and then Bailey will break her
I'm just
streak.
laughing at
Bailey
it.
will break her streak at WrestleMania. You'd like to think, but there's no chance Charlotte loses this. And then Owens versus Goldberg.
Goldberg.
It's Bill.
And I'll mark out.
You'll mark out, and I'll be so mad.
Wait, I got a question for you. Interesting one. Over under 2 minutes, the match lasts.
Under.
Owens Goldberg.
Under. If he beats Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was kayfabe the strongest wrestler in recent memory, and he beat him in 2 minutes. So therefore, kayfabe Bill Goldberg is the strongest wrestler in history right now, and there's no way that Owens lasts more. If he destroys Brock Lesnar in 2 minutes, you tell me he can't. He's not gonna destroy unless Chris Jericho does something or some tomfoolery happens. It should be a murder show, right?
It should like it should be, but. Do you think
Owens
it will be?
plays that like I'm smarter than you type character.
Yeah.
So I feel he's gonna he'll put up somewhat of a fight, and I think it's gonna go over 2 minutes.
Okay.
If that was a question.
Like run around the ring. Like Brock's thing was he underestimated Bill.
Yeah,
right?
that was the Brock thing.
And like wasn't it like 2016?
Well, even in Owens' promo, he even talked about how short his matches are. So I could see him going outside the ring, and that's what Owens does to get people excited. He goes old school Larry Sabisco. He goes out just wasting time and doing things to entertain people.
I like that
so
name drop. Old school Larry Zabisco.
But we all think Bill wins.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so too, but I hope not. I really hope not, but yes.
Your face is red.
I know.
Jim is getting very frustrated.
This concludes the first part of our conversation with Ace Martino, Wrestling Perfection. There is a small, brief second part, which you can find on the next episode, and we also get an update on Jim's road to WrestleMania. I hope you enjoyed what you listened to. Thanks for listening, and if you want more, check out our other recordings on SoundCloud or check us out on iTunes, and like, share, and subscribe. We'll talk to you later. Bye.